That way you can win more. Welcome to Unbreakable. Yes, yes. Welcome to Unbreakable, everybody. Hey, at the start of the week, I always like to, recap some things that happened over the weekend that was kind of inspiring and some things that kind of was not so inspiring. And so one of the things that was very inspiring this weekend was on Sunday. I had somebody inbox me that I really don't interact with at all. They're not a friend, but they inboxed me and they said how some of my previous podcasts really helped them to address some relationship issues and some gave them some information that they were not aware of. So I really appreciate, it made me feel good. It made me feel like unbreakable here. We're able to help people and even in our other podcasts, the relationship codes, we're able to help people by giving them some relationship codes and just some bullet points to be able to work on. And so I appreciate that feedback. And then what was not so well was I did a pitch in a different format that I hadn't done before. I never done this particular communicated this pitch in this particular format, and I totally bombed. I totally failed. And I mean, like I felt bad like for a whole hour or 2, even 3. I was just annoyed the fact that I failed, especially when you get older. You don't wanna fail at things. You want everything you do to you wanna be able to touch and succeed, and so I realized I was looking at it the wrong way. I realized that that was just the first time I had did that, and I get another opportunity to do it again because they, um like the relationship, they like what I have to offer, and they wanna see me succeed, and so those things are really good, and so that kinda drives me into one of the very first things, and that is, on Unbreakable, each letter represents an action or something that we should be focusing on, and so the U in Unbreakable, we're gonna use it for understand patterns before you set a goal. Because what ends up happening a lot of times is when you don't identify what breaks your consistency and you set a new goal, all you doing is setting up a new way to repeat an old cycle. And so you have to be able to identify like what you fail from? Was it a lack of desire? Most people think it's from a lack of desire, but really they fail from a lack of unexamined patterns like procrastination or perfectionism. And see, I think that was one pattern that I had to recognize because I think I'm supposed to do something new without any practice and be good at it. And that's just not reality. So that was a pattern for me that I was able to identify and of course work on and break through. And then emotional spending. Are you emotional spender? Is that a pattern that you need to adjust before you set any type of a financial goal? Do you have avoidance? Avoiding relationships, avoiding doing certain thing, avoiding collaborating with a group of people. What is it? Avoidance thing, distraction. That's a pattern, or just people pleasing, always trying to do things to people please. And that particular those patterns can really set you up for a failure. And then we keep setting a new goal, and then we fail again, and then we set a new goal. And it's not that we do fail, but we don't achieve or really get the results that make us happy. And so sometimes we just stop trying and stay in a holding pattern and don't move forward. And understanding the pattern that when you do that, it has this sequence. So first, something triggers it, right? So I failed that pitch. Okay, so that was something that triggered it. And then I told myself a story. Well, dog, I'm too old to be failing stuff. Or who wants to fail? And then the behavior, like I was kind of irritable, like for the next 3 hours. And fortunately, there really was no consequence that I can identify. But if I had to, it was that the consequence was there was an opportunity to create an argument. There was an opportunity to create uh make myself sick because I was kind of down on myself. And so just finding and understanding your triggers and then understanding how to leverage that is be really important when you get ready to set goals. And then don't just set goals out of having emotion. Set goals after you diagnose really what you're trying to do. What it is that you're really trying to accomplish. And just remember that a goal without self-awareness is a setup for failure. So examine yourself. I know exactly how I'm wired. I take my own assessments and I actually use them every day, all day with all types of almost every single interaction because once I understand how I'm wired and I can understand how someone else wired, I usually do pretty good job at making connection and able to really excel. And then coaching point number 2 for N, unbreakable UN. The N really stands for normalize the cost of change. Most people don't want to address change because it's discomfort. Now I had to study more on this pitch. I had to create some videos using some new AI tools. That's a whole nother learning level, a whole nother learning curve that kind of slows down. And it's a little discomfort because I didn't really want to try to study how to do or create videos for my pitch. But guess what? That's what I had to do. That's the price of change. And understanding that the momentum the actual momentum the the moment it gets uncomfortable, that's not proof that you fell in. That's proof that the old version of you is losing control. So whereas I might have wanted to be able to try to hold on and okay, I'm gonna take the skills I got and do this pitch. No, I had to get uncomfortable. I got to learn something new and I don't have control of that anymore. I have to move into areas that I'm not familiar with, and that's just how success kind of really works. And so, and sometimes discipline feels like a loss before it feels like freedom. But really, what you're losing is the excuses, old comforts, and familiar patterns. You're losing those things. And that's the part that feels uncomfortable. But really, when you're able to identify that pattern, you're able to move forward. What if you want to invest in something, but you're afraid of losing your money because you don't want to study what to invest in and how to make it work and get with some people who've done what you're trying to do? Those things require new skills, new direction, and most people, they don't wanna do that. Most people quit because they interpret discomfort as, "Well, I don't wanna deal with no discomfort. Ooh, I'm not gonna try to move forward or forge forward in that." And so high performers interpret discomfort as training, and that's kinda what I did with this pitch. I just had to train on it because if I stick this pitch, that's gonna represent a whole nother level of income, and trust me, I'm trying to do some more money. So, and then just remember this, decide in advance, what you're not what you're gonna what your negotiation is gonna be. Like, for me, I will not negotiate with discomfort. I'm going to be discomfort I'm not gonna be comfortable if it's gonna require me being successful, then I choose to be uncomfortable. And I'm gonna make being uncomfortable the new norm. And so if it costs comfort, you I'm more than likely I'm probably just gonna be able to move forward with success in the future. And so coaching point number 3, the B is for building. So unbreakable, the B, we're gonna use that today is to build. So build structure that make discipline automatic. And so a lot of times people don't know what discipline is. They think of it like a punishment. I'm just guessing, but really discipline is applying what you've learned to a situation. It's whatever you were taught that is a success principle and you apply it to a situation. Most of us aren't disciplined because we don't apply what we learned. We kind of do what we want to do with what we've learned when we want to do it. And so motivation is unreliable. So you kind of got to have like this structure, your structure and strategic, it has to be strategic, your structure does, because that's what protects your standards when your feelings start to fluctuate. You know, I know that I didn't want to study. My emotions was upset. I didn't really know what I was going to do about it, but my structure was because I have reading 20 minutes every day and learning a AI tool and working on my AI platform 20 minutes every day. That's a non-negotiable. That's something I do every single day. And so that particular structure kept moving me forward, even though I felt bad because I didn't pass the pitch. And so uh, structure just really means that you have already decided, look, I got time blocks that I'm gonna honor and follow. I got triggers that I know how to recognize. I got rules that I'm not gonna break. Like I'm not gonna not study every day. I'm not gonna not do my AI tools every day. I listen to 20 minutes books on taste so every single day. And so for me, I kind of do my time blocks in 20-minute sections because sometimes my mind will start to wander because I have a very active mind and a lot of things be going through there. So and then I have somebody that I'm accountable to. We have a men's accountability group. We call, we check on each other, we meet. We do a quick FaceTime and they'll ask, "Hey, did you get this done? So what was the learning lesson in that?" And we kind of teach each other like that. And I find that very helpful because, I don't feel like I got to avoid somebody calling me on my phone because I didn't do because I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And so I don't want to be coaching, telling people to do what they say they're going to do. And then I don't do the same thing. Usually, almost 99% of the time, I follow exactly what I coach because that's what I know that works. What I don't know, I don't even talk about. And so structure, it just really means that you're not going to rely on your willpower. And you want to make sure that you use that minimum, they call it a minimum standard rule. So even on bad days, you still hit your baseline goal, like 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of prayer, or I'm gonna read one page on something, or I'm gonna do one repetition of something. I'm gonna walk one lap no matter what. But have a minimum standard rule that you have an opportunity to work on. And those things usually will help you no matter what happens. And just understand that there's gonna be some friction that you're gonna feel when it comes down to breaking old patterns. And so there might be some things that you gotta work on that you gotta get out, like deleting certain apps on your phone, removing certain temptations, make sure you go ahead and you schedule the work. I was never really schedule everything on my phone type of person. But now it's to the point where not only do I schedule it on my phone, but I actually have to set an alarm and a timer for me so that I know that it's time to switch and I can keep that in place. And then just remember, you don't rise to what you intend to do. You usually fall to the structure that you have in place. And if you don't have a structure in place, That's usually where we go wrong at right there. And so, and look, if you ready to stop guessing and actually want to understand what breaks your consistency, go ahead and schedule a booking call, a temperament assessment and consultation call. Just put, hey, I want more information. Can you please reach out to me? DM me. And what you're going to walk away with is a blueprint, a personal blueprint, where you can understand your triggers, your wirings under stress, and the structure that you need in order to be able to stay unbreakable. Hey, y'all, thank you for allowing me to be your personal success and awareness coach. I really appreciate that. I am your coach. I am your personal awareness and success coach. And remember this always: what you do before and after the storm will determine whether you stay broken or become unbreakable. That's my time, y'all. Y'all